Hi guys, welcome to Manhood Explained. My name is Kamil. Today is 9th of June 2020. Welcome to video number 165. Today I want to talk about how you, as a guy, you can stop arguing in your relationship once and for all. Interested? Cool. I think 2 days ago I had a privilege of talking with one of my friends about relationships, all of this stuff. And we kind of talked about different things, and in the midst of this whole conversation we basically jumped to the subject of arguments, and we talked about few aspects of that, and he basically inspired me to look at this subject from kind of different perspective that I know, but I kind of forgot about it because I don't really argue in my relationship. That's why that was fascinating. Oh yeah, I can talk about that. So this is what I want you to kind of be able to get from this video today, that that might be interesting because I can see this problem happening with many of us guys. So listen, the problem is very simple. Many times when we argue, because how we are wired as guys and as our ladies, we've got this tendency to do one very specific mistake that makes this whole thing kind of impossible to get into any position, to any solution, to drag this whole thing to the any solution. Because what we try to do is basically to prove our lady, our girl, that she's wrong. And you've got to look at this from kind of her perspective, because that will explain a lot. Because most of us as guys, we are thinking in kind of very strictly logical way. I say that all the time. If I ask you a question, whatever it might be, you're gonna think about it and give me an answer. What they will do is they're gonna think about it and gonna talk about it. It's gonna be a completely different process. Because if you look closely enough, and I talked about it as well, how they experience life and how they go through, whatever happens, being one of them being the arguments, they go through the emotions, not through facts. At least not so much as we do, because we've got emotions as well. But you know what I mean. The kind of disproportion of it is it's huge. That's why we know that we are wired differently. So now ask yourself, if your girl is going through the argument, through the emotions, if you're saying to her that she's wrong, that it didn't happen, something, that what happened was something completely different, it's not like you think that you try to show her that kind of something different happened from the facts point of view. That you say that no, then the XYZ didn't happen, the ABC happened. From her perspective, it's like you trying to prove that what she experienced through emotions didn't happen. And that's completely wrong, because she experienced the emotions. So how can you say that it didn't happen? You know what I mean? So from this point of view, if you look at this whole argument in between you two, from this perspective, you're trying to prove that the facts were different and her interpretation should be different. But from her perspective, the emotions were there, it happened, and now, interestingly enough, many times all the argument goes towards the emotions that this whole situation caused rather than what really happened. So that's why it's like a misconception. You're talking about two different things. That's why it's never going to work. So have this in mind. She's looking at this whole thing from emotions. It starts with emotion, and now it goes just by the emotions per se. You are looking at facts. So if it's not going to work, what can we do to make it work? To kind of find solution to this situation and stop this whole madness, because now it's going to end up really badly. Probably us not talking to each other for a day or two. If you're going really if you try to kind of fix it and make it like argument that you're gonna win, it's just gonna be much bigger in proportion than it's supposed to. So the point number 2, Try to think about it this way. What if it's not about fighting and kind of proving to each other that something was different than they experienced? What if you're going that way, she's saying that, she experienced this or that, she's becoming emotional. What would happen if you turn like 180 degrees and stop being against her, but start kind of aligning yourself with her? And if you say, okay, I got it. So I'm sorry that you felt this way, because that wasn't my intention, but tell me about it. I really want to know what made you angry, what made you feel this way. Because, first of all, it tells me a lot about you. And you will see that if you go that way, you will learn a lot about her. Because it's like, let me use a very simple example. Let's say you're kids, you're standing on a lake or I don't know, river or something, and your friend is standing next to the water, or maybe, I don't know, swimming pool, whatever. And you say to your friend, I'm going to go and push him into the water. And your friend is saying, don't do it because he's going to start swinging. He's going to, he's going to be mad. And why? It's just, pushing him into the water is just for fun. But he will say, but you don't know that he almost drowned being a kid and he's completely afraid of water. The same things happen with your girl. The thing that happened and kind of make this explosion of negative emotions, now it's not really connected to the facts that it happened, but it's connected to something completely different that you maybe don't know. You might have complete no understanding and no knowledge about what she's really referring to and why she kind of had this emotional experience. So that's why I'm saying, don't fight her. Don't try to prove that it didn't happen, because it did, from an emotional standpoint at least. Kind of align her with her, ask her. Let her tell you the story. Let her explain this whole thing that you maybe don't yet have no knowledge and understanding about. You know what I'm saying? And that way you'll be able to, it is interesting, it's going to lead you to learning more about her. But then it's going to be so easy for you to go to point number 3, propose a solution. Because then if you understand, oh, okay, you're afraid of the water, because you almost drowned. That's why you can ask, okay, so how can I do it next time, so it will be acceptable for you, even more. Maybe it's going to be cool. Maybe you'll know that I love you and doing it because I do, and I'm trying, I want to do something positive, and it's going to be even better than just solving the problem, but maybe it's gonna be like a positive experience. Then she'll tell you, okay, what would you say about doing this way or that? And you say, okay, since, from now on, I'm going to do this exactly as you ask me to. And then it's going to be, you're going to solve the problem. And then next time it's going to happen, you're going to do it as you're supposed to, meaning how she asks you or something. You're going to stop arguing, because, after a few situations like this, you're going to cover the most of the problems that you have in your relationship. And you're going to stop arguing, because why would you? But one even more interesting fact that it's going to teach you, and that's something that not many people talk about from the men's perspective, so that's why I'm going to do it for you. You've got to understand that if you learn this kind of behavior, stop arguing and starting realigning to know what happened and find a solution based on that method, then you'll be able to kind of flip this upside down and use it in your case. Because there are things that drive you nuts. There are things that drive you mad in the relationship. And maybe then you'll be able to say, listen, do you remember this situation like 2 weeks ago that we had this kind of situation, and you told me about this story about, this almost drowning and so on? And she'll say, yeah, I remember. You see, the same thing happens here. When you do XYZ this way, it brings me to, and then you can tell your story. Or say, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Would that be okay with you if you would do it that way? That would be much more comfortable for me, and I would be really grateful. And then, interestingly enough, you start getting things done the way that you like, or the way that you would expect. Because if you try to force it when you argue, it's just not going to happen. But if you showed her that you can handle this, that you can be helpful, that you really care, that you really, love her, and try to solve these arguments in your relationship by finding solutions that would be really suitable for her, she's going to come back to you and she would have no problem, at least she wouldn't, to do some things your way. That's how we build a relationship. So this is what I want you to take from this video. If you want to be satisfied in your relationship, if you want to stop fighting, stop arguing, you've got to stop thinking about it as a competition. And we're trying to fight and prove that the other side is wrong. It didn't happen. Try to understand that it's just a matter of realigning yourself and kind of figuring out what really happened and just proposing a solution. Because this whole thing is not about competition, but it's about cooperation. So think about it and do something about it. Because the person who can do something about it, and it's more, let's say, privileged to not having so much emotions and make this thing happen and make it easier, it's you. So just do it. If you like this video, share, like, comment. If you didn't, give me a shout as well. I'm really interested. What's your view on the subject? And if there's anything you want me to record about, DM me or comment, and I'll be glad to do it for you. That being said, see you tomorrow.